children, and I'll weave you a tale about a wee little boy who murders everyone. Once upon a time, there was a sly little fellow named Wesley. On the surface, he seemed like a normal little boy, laughing and playing all day long. But deep inside, he was evil. For years now, he has been incapacitating and murdering people, undiscovered until two boys strolled along. So pass me that ale as I spin you this tale about the night I, Randy Botwin, almost died. It was an hour before 9, the little fellow's bedtime. He was getting ready for the first day of preschool. He said goodnight to his parents and went off to his room and jumped in bed. 3 hours later, the grandfather clock hit 12 o'clock, and it went. Wesley sprang out of bed and looked across his room, seeing the pile of clothes on his floor. He tiptoed through his room, around the mess, and into the kitchen. He went to grab the knife out of the knife set and grabbed a towel to wipe off the knife. The boy went back to his room to grab his backpack, and then he put everything in the backpack, and off he went to go find a victim. He strolled down Citrus Avenue, looking for a victim. Then he spotted a jar window in the second story of an apartment complex. He looked for a way up to the window, but then, out of the peripherals of his eyes, he saw two people. Bro, I'm like starving, dude. They looked about 20.
Bro, where's the Taco Bell?
Being the genius 40-year-old he was, he ran to the next building and hid behind the dumpster. He was there for a solid 3 minutes to be safe, but the whole time he pondered and thought about how to get in, then out, and how long it would take. He then realized there was a fire exit next to the window. Now all he had to do was get the ladder down quietly. He pondered a lot and came up with the solution of taking out the towel and making a cushion out of it. He grabbed a rock and threw it at the ladder, and the ladder came sliding down. The ladder hit directly in the center of the towel and broke the fall and the sound. He lifted the ladder a little so he could grab the towel and the backpack. Then he slowly climbed up and opened the window. It was the bathroom window, so this made for a perfect escape. He looked through the house and finally found the bedroom. It was a single man, probably a lawyer, because he only had black suits, perfect hair, and a suitcase. To make it quick, he opened his backpack, grabbed the knife, and stabbed the man directly in the chest. No sounds were made, and some may call it a perfect murder. Wesley put the man in the closet, wiped off the knife, and ran as fast as he could out of the house. He went over back to home and fell asleep. The next day he woke up, ate some Lucky Charms, dressed up, and brushed his teeth. He went to school and was welcomed by a substitute teacher. Wesley thought he recognized the man, and then he remembered from yesterday night. It was one of the men walking down the street. He knew it because he had the same clothes and the same type of arms. At 8 o'clock, I introduced myself to the class as Mr. Botwin. The whole day, Wesley avoided me, frequently going to the bathroom or hiding in the corners of the room. He thought I didn't notice, but it was quite clear. He made it through the day, avoiding me, but then he had to figure out a way to terminate me. Wesley was at home, on his bed, pondering about how he would reach me outside of school. He came up with the conclusion of putting a tracking chip into my work bag, and from there, he would track the chip at night. He got the chip and went to school the next day. He planted it in my bag when I went to the bathroom. The torturously long school day finally ended, and all he had to do was wait. It felt like decades, when in reality it was only 12 hours. It was time to go get the tracking device. It wasn't very far. In fact, it was only a 5-minute walk. He got to the location and immediately saw where it was. He was in his house with crystal clear windows. He picked the lock on the back door and got in. He went to my room and took out a knife. He got closer to me, but the worst possible thing happened to him. He sneezed. He stabbed my leg, and then I woke up. I screeched in terror and ran with a very large limp. I grabbed my keys and then ran to the car with Wesley hot in my tail. I got in the car and locked the doors. Wesley got on the roof. As the car started up, I drove out of the driveway. With all of his might, Wesley held onto the bike rack on my car and slid from side to side on the roof. I arrived at the police station. I limped to the door with the knife still in my leg. When I walked to the police station, the police realized what was happening and they tackled Wesley. He was arrested and I was sent to the emergency room. After a day, I recovered and I was okay. I still have the knife in a case on my shelf. Wesley is now 64, still in prison because he was found guilty and got a lifetime sentence. Some say he chooses to be in prison and he should get out at any moment. All I know is that I am still alive and cannot be hurt. That is the story of how I, Randy Butwin, almost got killed by a preschooler. What the...